This week on the Analog Circle Podcast, Knights of the Old Republic could be getting rebooted. The alleged Nintendo Switch Pro may not be as powerful as we hoped. Some new alleged details have come out about Resident Evil 8. The PlayStation 5 will have better overall performance than the Xbox One Series X. And we get some very interesting Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 news. All of these stories and quite a few more in episode 113 of the Analog Circle Podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell. And I must say, guys, I am so very happy to be back meeting with your acquaintance. Now, before I continue on with the podcast, man, it's been a long time, brothers. Think since September the 13th or sometime in September. I haven't recorded since then, so I'm trying to get reacclimated. But before I continue on with the show, I have to shout out a few people first. First off, let me shout out one subset. This brother actually emailed me and asked me when the podcast was coming back. I truly appreciated that. Thank you for the support, brother. Truly means a lot. I gotta shout out Vaughn. He was another gentleman who actually sent a voicemail in, and you know how rare that is, that I get voicemails in onto the show. He actually was very encouraging, telling me that he enjoyed the show and he looked forward to it coming back. And those kind words truly meant a lot. I definitely have to shout out, of course, the MVP, the VIP, the gentleman that writes in or wrote in every single week, even had hit me on my phone just to see how I was doing. Shout out to Cody Clark. Also shout out to Jeff Tekis Taylor. He was another guy that was very supportive. Shout out to Mastino. And I definitely, man, listen, it's so many people that I just truly want to thank. Shout out to Mike J as well. That brother hit me up just to check to see how I was doing. And everything is fine, man. You know, nothing is wrong. It's just my work schedule is hectic. Matter of fact, it's still hectic. And I have to be up in upstate New York in literally about 5.5 hours, brothers, or I'll be dead. I'm going to be so dead truck driving up there. But, man, I had to start somewhere, and I figured why not just jump right back in and start where I left off at. So shout out to everybody. I can't thank you guys enough for the support. It truly means everything. And like I said, if you guys want to be part of the feedback, you guys want to leave your comments, leave questions, you can do that two different ways. You can either call in, and the phone number is 443-216-9934, and let your voice, me, be heard, or you can email the show, and the email address is the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. Guys, I tell you what, I want to get into it, man. But before I get into it, I just want to let you guys know I beat Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4. Game was absolutely amazing, brothers. I'm going to tell you something, man. The tears, listen, brother. Hey. The waterworks started working on me. At the end of Spider-Man, this ain't no spoilers, brothers, but man, it was a heck of a touching goddamn ending. Good gracious. But Spider-Man got beaten. I also beat Gears 5. I enjoyed Gears 5 quite a bit. It was absolutely a great game. Thought it was a solid 8.5. I don't think it quite cracked the 9. You know, and I truly thought it should have been up for Game of the Year. I'm not saying it should have won, but it should have at least got a nod. So 8.5, it was a very solid game. The ending on that was something very, very special as well. And now I'm back playing Judgment again. Judgment is a long freaking game. That game is forever. And it's a lot of cutscenes. It's a lot of talking. It's a lot of exploring around and meeting new friends and going to Pojo shops. I don't even know what a Pojo shop is, brother. But it's a whole lot going on in that game. And it has a lot of not downtime, but not a lot of fighting at times, man. And it gets a little repetitive, but I've been enjoying it. I think I'm like darn near 30 hours into that game. This game ain't even an RPG. And I got these kind of hours in it. But anyway, man, shoot, because of time restraints, brothers, I got to move on, man. I got to move on with the show, and I want to go ahead and get into the gaming news, goddaggit, that went down. Now, let's get started with some pretty amazing and exciting news. Now, for this one, we're going to be into the rumorverse. This is always one of the sections of the show. It ain't even a section. I just call it the rumorverse because this stuff ain't confirmed. This is all rumors. So let's talk about it. Now, according to Cinelix, hopefully that's the name. It's Cinelix. How would you pronounce it? Cinelix, I guess. And Games Radar, two different sources who are familiar with Disney's plans have confirmed a Knights of the Old Republic game is in the works. But this is where it gets a little cloudy because there are disagreements on whether it will be a simple reboot or a sequel. Now, I also want to point out that Cinelix leaked news of Obi-Wan TV show last year. So they're pretty credible. Now this, I gotta tell you, man, good gracious. Oh man, Knights of the Old Republic. I will never forget, I had just finished seeing Star Wars, I think it was episode 3 where he was like, oh, I hate you. You know, he was like burning up in the fire. Legs was cut the heck off. He ain't had nothing. He was trying to climb up on his elbows and, you know, whatchamacallit was like, I loved you. Was that Obi-Wan? I don't know who. I think it was Obi-Wan. I loved you. And he was like, you know, that whole scene. So I played the game after I saw the movie, and it was very impactful. Man, I was not familiar with BioWare. God dang. And this is coming from not the biggest Star Wars fan out there. I mean, I definitely enjoy the movies. I love the lore, but I'm by no means a gigantic Star Wars fan. And that story, that dialogue tree, those different choices where you could be on the light side or the dark side, I had never, ever experienced anything like that. And I tell you, BioWare took those mechanics and they just perfected them so much because Mass Effect, you better believe that Mass Effect was a brainchild of Knights of the Old Republic. And this is like retro BioWare. This is daggone BioWare that was knocking out hit after hit. And I mean, it's so great. It would be awesome to see EA or whoever Disney lets pick up the publishing to bring this game back out, reboot it, or I don't know, make a new one, part 3, because I know that Knights of the Old Republic came back out again, but it was an MMO. Who the frick wanted the MMO? I didn't ask for that, EA, but guess you decided, hey, we're going to do what we want to do. I hear you, brother. But nonetheless, we'll have to wait and see if this is true, and hopefully we will find out soon. Let's move into some Nintendo news, though. Now, once again, we continue to hear these Switch Pro rumors. But this latest rumor, coming from Digital Trends, may have some fans a little let down. So according to a source in Korea, the Nintendo Switch Pro's GPU will be powered by NVIDIA's Volta architecture, and I always get that word wrong. Have a hard time with that word. But Nintendo will be working closely with NVIDIA on creating a new custom processor to replace the Tegra X1, which is currently in the Switch. But here is where it gets just a little dicey, because according to a report, it claims that the new processor won't result in a major performance increase for the next Switch model, meaning that the alleged 4K resolution will likely not be there. But the report does claim that this new quote-unquote Pro Switch will have an improved battery life. Now, the last piece of this story is, even though this alleged console is releasing this year, development is allegedly again behind schedule, and that's according to Metro, which could mean the console could be delayed until 2021. Now, I'm going to tell y'all, brothers and sisters, man, it's always speculation. We're still in the rumorverse. None of this stuff has been confirmed. Nintendo hasn't come out and given us any thoughts or ideas that this rumor is true, so we still have to just wait on standby until we get the official word. But I was truly hoping that this alleged console was going to compete with Microsoft and Sony, but then reality kind of hit me like a ton of bricks, because I remember for years now, I'm talking about since the Wii era, Nintendo, man, forget the Wii era, Nintendo hasn't competed on a graphical scale with the competition ever since the GameCube. Now, a lot of you might not know this. I didn't know this. I got to shout out Jeremy Parrish, my brother, very, very good friend of mine, who actually told me that the GameCube was more powerful than the PlayStation 2. I didn't see that coming, especially with them small little discs. You know, Nintendo gotta always be different for the sake of being different. So I had no idea that the GameCube was up there with the PlayStation 2. Like I said, matter of fact, better. So we have to go all the way back to the GameCube era, where Nintendo was actually competing as far as graphics go. Now, since the Wii, since the Nintendo Switch, and even before the Switch, the Wii U, we're talking 3 generations of consoles. Nintendo has not been concerned with the competition, so I don't know why I would think that if this alleged Pro Switch is real, it would have any kind of different result. So for everybody, like I said, that thought that this console was going to be 4K and actually be competing with these next generation consoles that will be out by the end of this year, we would be sadly mistaken if this alleged rumor is true. Let's move on into the next story. Now, I want to talk about some Rocket League news. Now, if you own, if you own the game on Mac, OS, or Linux, I got some bad news. Because Epic Games announced that the game will no longer receive updates for those particular platforms after a final patch, which will release in March. And on top of the final update, the game will only function in offline state. God dang, you can't even play with your friends online anymore. They are taking you offline. That's gonna be it. So you might want to get a couple of friends together to go and rally the troops and have one last hurrah. But you will still be able to access any cosmetics or add-ons that you previously purchased. Now, you may be wondering, why is the game being discontinued? Well, it's because those platforms only make up 0.3% of active players. Now, here is the quote that was given. Now, he says, given that we cannot justify the additional and ongoing investment in developing native clients for those platforms, end of quote. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold, brothers. Pardon me. But I'll tell you guys, I brought up this story because we are living in an era. Now, I don't know when this new stuff started, but people say the sales of consoles don't matter. As long as you can get it on PC, as long as you can get it elsewhere, the console sales don't matter. Everything is being judged by services now. That's the new metric. My thing is, and I will stick with this until, man, I'm gone away from here. The console sales matter because these developers, if your console is not in demand, all we got to do is look at the Wii U. We saw what happened to the Wii U. That thing got left out there in the desert to dry from starvation and god doggone no water because no games were coming to that platform because nobody was checking for the platform. Here you have a game, what is it, by Cynosis, but I think Epic Games picked up Rocket League. But here you have this publisher, developer, this saying that, man, it's not even worth us investing the money into the online architecture of this game because nobody is playing it. It's a waste of money. So the same thing can happen to your favorite platform if it does not sell. If it does not reach the masses or enough people, your console will be left out there to pasture and get the old yellow treatment. It's a fact. So I don't want to continue to hear people say that console sales don't matter. Now, I'm not saying you got to beat the competition. Now, that might be another conversation, but you have to have the platform be successful in order to continue to get these games releasing onto your favorite platform. That's all I wanted to say. If it can happen to Mac OS and Linux, which, I mean, I gotta say, god dang, I don't know how popular those are, as far as gaming goes, but I mean, nonetheless, man, here I go rambling again. Let me move on, brothers. That's enough of this. Rocket League on Mac OS and Linux is getting ready to be down after March, brothers. That was basically all that was. Let's go ahead and move on into the next story, though. Now, let's get back into some more Nintendo news, because according to Japanese Nintendo, the company re-upped 39 of its games' trademarks. Now, some of the standouts to me were Kid Icarus, Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, Wave Racer, and Cruisin'. God dog, heck, they even re-upped the trademark for Urban Champion. Y'all remember Urban Champion back in the day on the NES? Oh man, I'm really showing my age. Man, used to fight in the alley and people would drop bottles and stuff from the doggone top floor in the projects, man. At least it looked like the projects, you know, where they were beefing at. But I tell you, it would be absolutely awesome to get another Kid Icarus. I mean, a fully fledged, big AAA Kid Icarus game, because I think the only Kid Icarus game we've gotten so far was on the Nintendo 3DS, and it actually got pretty good scores. It was pretty solid. I would like to see, now who wouldn't want to see Eternal Darkness? A brand new Eternal Darkness come out. The things that game did to mess with your mind, have you thinking that your data got corrupted and whatnot. I mean, I think that would be absolutely awesome. These franchises, I mean, Kid Icarus might not be dormant, but it hasn't been put on that big stage in a very, very long time. Like I said, Cruisin', I haven't seen a Cruisin' USA or anything like that on a Nintendo platform, and I don't know how long now. I gotta be honest, I haven't been in the Nintendo streets up until recently with the Switch, which I want to shout out again that unanimous person who wants to stay unanimous, who actually had gifted me Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I can't thank you enough, brother, because if you didn't, like I said, if you didn't give me an incentive to open that joint, I wouldn't know what kind of greatness Nintendo had, but have with this Nintendo Switch. But anyway, rambling again. It would be great to see some of these come back. Wave Racer, man, that's been a while. I think that was N64. They might have did something on the Wii, like a Wave Racer Lite-esque kind of game. But anyway, they re-upped these trademarks. There was a whole bunch of them, and hopefully some of these will get some brand new games out of them. Anyway, let's move on. Let's get into some PlayStation VR news. So, it was announced by developer Skydance that The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners will be releasing in the spring of this year for the PlayStation VR. And on a side note, if you do have a Quest port, the game will show up on that device later in the year. Now, so far, the game has 81 on Metacritic, which is very, very solid. And just on another quick VR note, according to Super Data, now this is very, very interesting, man. According to Super Data, the Valve Index sales have more than doubled after Half-Life Alyx was announced. Now, that's the thing about VR. Everybody that has tried it, played it, if you don't get sick, you know, it is just an experience that it feels like some kind of experience you would get at an amusement park, or you would have to be at a Dave & Buster's or something to kind of get this amazing experience that it's like it's a dream this is possible at home. I don't think anybody would deny that it is an excellent piece of tech to have if you can afford it. And that it's two different things that I think is making it so VR just won't hit the mainstream, because I think as it stands right now, I think that the PlayStation VR, don't quote me on it, I think they're at over 5 million units. I think it's a little more than that, but I'll stay safe and say it's at least at 5 million, which when you compare that to the whole PlayStation 4's base is like 5%. Yeah, 5% adoption rate if it's at around 5 million, which isn't good, but it's one of those things you just can't look at on TV and get a feel for it. You have to try it out. And the thing that I was going to say is that for VR, like I said, it's two different things that to me is holding it back. It's the price point, and it's that AAA exclusive that you need to show off the tech of the headset. And I truly believe that Half-Life Alyx, and I mean the numbers don't lie, you're talking about more than doubled after they showed this game, which looks absolutely incredible. I mean, my goodness, I remember that years ago when Half-Life, the third one they got to get to. I think they say Valve can't count to 3 or 4 or one of those. But I remember when it was rumors that a new one was coming out, people were saying, they were just joking too. They were like, Valve's going to wait until you can do something with VR and put it in VR, because they got to go way bigger than they ever did with the previous ones. And here we are. Literally, the next game. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be a full-fledged sequel to the previous Half-Lives, but I truly think that somewhere in there, the story is going to pick up where it left off. But here we are, years later, and the newest game in the franchise is going to be in VR. It's absolutely crazy. I think that game is going to do wonders for VR. I think that as long as the price point stays affordable for the average consumer, that's just one of the biggest hurdles, is that price point. If you can get the price point down to $250, maybe $300, and keep it there, I think that's the sweet spot. But anyway, as always, I ramble. My apologies. Let's move on into the next story. Now, over the last couple of days, Silent Hill fans have been pretty excited because there has been rumors of a reboot. Well, we have finally received some official information from Konami themselves, and they had this to say, and I quote, "We cannot share anything at this point, but we are listening to customer feedback and considering ways to provide the next title." End of quote. Now, one of the ways that they were talking about as far as ways to provide the next game, they were thinking of an episodic style, kind of similar to The Walking Dead. And that piece of news actually came from Orasoft. No. They were talking about doing it via a Walking Dead type of style game, or they would just make it a soft reboot. And this piece of news came from a pretty credible horror game leaker that goes by the name of Asiastic Gamer, who in fact leaked this alleged reboot of Silent Hill news. So I know it's a lot of Silent Hill guys and gals out there that enjoy the games. I'm gonna be honest, man. I don't mind horror games. I actually kind of like them. Resident Evil 2, I was more into Resident Evil. Even, like I said, even in more recent, later times, even Until Dawn, one of my absolute favorite games of this generation, definitely a gem, a sleeper title. That game had no business being that great. I mean, I absolutely loved every moment of that game. So I'm always never opposed to a horror game as long as it's really good. But Silent Hill? Silent Hill just had some way out there stuff that I couldn't wrap my brain around some of this stuff, brother. I mean, the mannequins, walking around. And I mean, even back then, the graphics were nothing like they are now. But it was something about Silent Hill that was just off-putting, where I was like, man, this is a little too far out there for me. I can't do it. This seems just a little too scary for me. So I wasn't into it. I know the last Silent Hill, I believe, was released on the Xbox 360. I don't think that fared too well. I don't think it got a lot of traction. So hopefully with, these different reboots that have come out from Capcom, maybe they're seeing that, hey, it is still a market for the horror genre, and they're trying to put their hat back into the ring. We'll have to see if this rumor becomes fact. But let's move into some more. Man, this is a pretty heavy rumor-filled show because we got another rumor here in Rumorville news. Now, we know that Capcom, oh man, I did a back-to-back. I'm not even going to hold you on this one. Basically, Capcom is working on Resident Evil 8, allegedly. But, we haven't heard any details about the game until now. Now, this new info comes from a YouTube channel called Residents of Evil, where they are reporting that Resident Evil 8 will be in the first person view, just like Resident Evil 7. And to add just a tinge more of credibility to this rumor, Eurogamer has been hearing the same thing from sources close to Capcom. Now, I was hoping, I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm very excited about Resident Evil 3 Nemesis because I never got into Nemesis. I didn't play Resident Evil 3. I think after Resident Evil 2 and Code Veronica, which was so hard. Man, Code Veronica, I don't know if that game gets the respect that it deserves, man. That game was absolutely one of the best Resident Evil games I had ever played. I would love to see Capcom remake that. But outside of that, though, good grief, I tell you, I was hoping that they were going to go back to the regular essence of what makes Resident Evil, that third person perspective in Resident Evil 8, but it looks like that's not going to be the case. I believe that they were saying that the game is going to take place, and I didn't write this down, but I think they said Chris Redfield will also be making an appearance. He won't be a main character, but he'll be in the plot somehow. They were saying that it's this mysterious woman that will be following you around from, place to place. I guess similar to maybe a newer Nemesis, but just a woman where she's going to be stalking you and trying to kill you, which could be very, very interesting. They were also saying that the game is going to take place somewhere in the mountains, or it's going to be a different country where it's going to be. I mean, like I said, all of this is speculatory. It's not 100% confirmed. Capcom has said nothing. I'm sure they're hard at work doing the final touches on Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, but this is the information that we have thus far. So let's talk about Ori. Oh, man, another one of my favorite games from this generation, Ori and the Will of the Wisp. It's official. Now this is just great news to me. It's official. Moon Studios and Microsoft have announced that the game has officially gone gold. So it's no turning back. The game will be releasing on March 11th. If you have not played Ori and the Blind Forest, God dag, another game that had your boy right here, man, had me doggone trying to hold back the daggone tears, man. I mean, just a fantastic game. Gameplay is buttery smooth. Graphically, it's beautiful. It's a nice, cute story. I mean, it's nothing crazy. I mean, god darn, it did move me a little bit. It moved you guys just a tad bit, man. Just a fantastic game. It's $20. One of the best games I played this generation. Definitely, absolutely one of the best side-scrollers, platformers I've played this generation. I would just say, for anybody that hasn't got it, and you might be a little put off by the difficulty, I'm telling you something, brother. Whoo! That game's difficulty will have you being very, very frustrated. But I will say, every time that I did die in that game, I knew it was my fault. I just wasn't good enough at, the enemy coming at me or the platforming or the situation at hand. The game is absolutely great. And like I said, if that is a problem where the difficulty is kind of like an off-putting thing for you, I would recommend that you get the, I think it's the 1 year edition, because I got both of them because I just love the game so much. I was like, dag, I just want to show my support to Moon Studios. So I got both versions, but the later version, it actually has more content, and for the first time, it actually lets you choose which difficulty level you want to play it on. So easy on that game's difficulty, man, it helps out tremendously until you get to a point where you feel more comfortable, and then you can bump it up to normal or I believe even hard. So it also comes with some behind the scenes, some clips, and some early showings of what the game started out as. I mean, it's well worth every last cent, man. I would highly recommend it. And it's like Ori is basically that game that's going to set everything in motion for Microsoft this year. Because Microsoft, believe it or not, everybody, I don't know if the hate is still heavy on Microsoft right now, because they've been showing off some stuff. I wasn't recording when God doggone Phil stepped up on that what was it, the Game Awards show stage, and he blew everybody away with the Xbox One Series X, and then on top of that showing Hellblade 2. Oh my gosh, man, what a moment. What a freaking moment. I was so amped up when I saw that. I saw the show live, and it was just incredible to see. So right now, Microsoft has quite a few games coming out this year, and Ori is just like one of the first games to go ahead and get that ball rolling. But anyway, yeah, just go out there, pick it up. It's absolutely phenomenal. They even have a limited edition version. I believe it might be an exclusive at GameStop, and I think it's like $40, somewhere around there, 40, maybe 50, but it comes with some really cool stuff, man. So check it out if you're interested. But let's move on, though. Let's move on into some quick news. Hopefully this will be quick, but update 7.0 for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. A Mii Fighter costume of Cuphead will be available to purchase, and with that purchase, you will receive a music track called Floral Fury. Now, MDHR had made this announcement over Twitter. You will also save 25% off of the purchase of Cuphead on the Nintendo Switch until Friday to celebrate this. So once again, another game that was in Microsoft's stable first, Cuphead, which is actually on the Switch. I mean, Cuphead is another one of Microsoft's better games this generation. Another very difficult game. Now, I didn't beat Cuphead yet, brothers. Nah, I didn't beat that. That game really, really requires skill, and I think a skill set that I just don't have, to be honest with you. I mean, as much as I played that game on the normal difficulty, dag, it was nothing I could do. I bumped that game down to easy, and man, I was killing everything. Got to the daggone casino, and they were like, man, you know you ain't killed nobody, right? You know, you know you ain't get nobody's deeds or death certificates, right? So you know you can't move forward. I was like, God dang, man, I thought I could have at least seen the final boss. They don't give you nothing. So, anyway, just to celebrate Cuphead, I mean, he's not officially in the game. Like I said, it's more of a costume, a Mii costume that you can purchase. But it is pretty cool that, you know, not Mugman, but Cuphead is in the game. So, I mean, good grief, the roster for Super Smash Brothers, god dang, Ultimate is it's just out of this world, man. But anyway, moving on into the next story, but bump. Now, this year is shaping up to be a huge year. I mean, and it's just shaping up to be one of the biggest years in gaming ever. I mean, not only because of Cyberpunk 2077, I mean, Halo Infinite, The Last of Us Part 2, even the Marvel game that's coming out. I know some people aren't excited about that Marvel game, but I'm pretty pumped up about it. Game looks daggone good to me. But outside of that, it's because this year marks the new beginning of the next generation of consoles. And with this, excuse me, with this, it's always speculation about what's going to happen, what this console is going to have, what that console is going to have. So according to a leaker, an alleged leaker, that goes by the name of Tidux, Tidux, he claims that the PlayStation 5 will have overall better performance over the Xbox One Series X. He said the CPU of both consoles are about the same, but the Series X will be more powerful than the PlayStation 5 when it comes to processing power by 1 teraflop. But the PlayStation 5 will lead on RAM, bandwidth, and size. The SSD storage unit will also be faster and bigger on the PlayStation 5 as well. So according to this guy, he got this info based on the final dev kits, which he says have been released to developers. Now, once again, take this with a mustard seed of truth. I tell you, man, this has been one of the best times to be a gamer. This has been one of the best times because, I mean, good grief, the fanboyism is real on this. When we heard that Microsoft's Series X was going to be 12 teraflops, man, that even had PC jokers in their feelings like, no, it is no way it's going to do 12 teraflops. It's no way it's ever going to be capable. It'll never beat my PC, my 2080 Ti. I mean, these jokers were going off their rockers. Upset, mad. I mean, I'm talking big mad. These guys were totally upset. The PlayStation community was no better. Oh, no. There's no way that Sony's going to ever give them that much of a power advantage. That's impossible. It's no way. And then this is always the funny part about this. This is all rumors and speculation, but it's fun. It's so much fun to me because then the narrative started to change, right? It was like all of a sudden, it was like, oh man, well, you know what? Since it looks like PlayStation is going to have 9 teraflops, the Xbox One Series X is going to have 12 teraflops, all of a sudden it's like, well, power doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, with the 1.8 teraflops that the PlayStation 4 had, the developers were able to make God of War. You got Detroit Become Human. You got Horizon Zero Dawn. What is Microsoft going to do? What can they possibly do? Power is overrated. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying, God dang, brothers, goodness gracious, is this what we are really doing right now? It's just great. It's awesome. I love the console war. Oh man, I love it because it always breeds competition. So when I hear things like this, I hear the PlayStation guys get revved up. Oh man, look at that. The SSD is going to be faster. It's going to have faster loading times. The bandwidth is going to be bigger. It's going to be the overall better console than yours. And I'm like, man, oh man, we don't know. They might be neck and neck. Who knows what is going to happen with this, but nonetheless, it's very entertaining. I love it, man. I absolutely love it. And I will say, I cannot lie, man. I would be remiss if I just skipped over what those Sony devs were able to do with the PlayStation 4. I mean, god dang. I mean, look. I love the Xbox. I'll tell you straight up. I'll tell anybody that is my preferred platform. I absolutely love the Xbox brand. But I am a gamer. That is ultimately what I am, and that trumps everything. I gotta tell you, the PlayStation 4 had some amazing games, and they have 2 huge games that haven't even come out yet that we don't even know what these developers are going to do with it. Well, do with them with the power of the system. I mean, good grief. We've already seen previews. I mean, The Last of Us Part 2. My gosh. Game looks absolutely incredible. You have Ghost of Tsushima, which is coming out allegedly later this year. That game looks amazing. I mean, it's no way anybody in their right mind could ever say that Sony didn't have the much better games this generation. I mean, good grief, the Xbox One X had 6 teraflops, and I believe the PlayStation 4 Pro had about 4, maybe 4.2. And my goodness, some of these games were night and day differences. So the whole point of this is we'll just have to wait and see. We know that Sony isn't going to be at E3 this year. We know that Microsoft is. It's also some information out there where I think... No, it's not a think, but people thought that Sony was going to have something in February. I even thought that as well months ago. It looks like that is being debunked. Definitely the February 5th date is being debunked. They're saying that no invitations have been sent out to media. And of course, these things take time. It's going to take media time to get the tickets that they need. They were saying that the show was supposed to take place in New York. It doesn't look like that's happening. Now it's another rumor going around saying that this event is allegedly going to take place around February 28th 8th or the 27th, because February is a short month. So, yeah, they're saying it's going to be towards the end of the month, but I truly don't think it's going to happen. Sony said that they're going to have hundreds of shows to be able to show off the PlayStation 4. I'm like, hundreds? I'm like, really? Really, Sony? Come on, man. Hundreds? I mean, I'd have believed you if you said a couple dozen, but hundreds? Okay, brother. But anyway, let's go ahead, man. Let's move on, get off of this, and let's move on into some Zelda Breath of the Wild news, where it is another report. God dang, I'm just realizing this show was rumor heavy. This whole show was based on rumors. What a way to come back. But let's get into this Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 news. So the latest news comes from two French websites. I think this is a French word, and I don't speak French, brother, but I'm gonna do my best. It says Hex Video, Jeux, Hex Video, maybe, I don't know, excuse me, pardon me, but that was one source, and the other source was Nintendo Town. Now, so from this point, like I said, take all of this with a mustard seed of truth. So Zelda will be playable in some sections, but Link will continue to be the main character. Now they were likening this to I guess kind of like The Last of Us. You know, it's that certain part where you get to play as Ellie, where Joel is, well, man, hopefully I ain't ruining it for anybody. I mean, god darn, the game is like 7 years old right now. But they were saying it's kind of going to be like that, where you'll have certain sections you'll be able to play as Zelda in, which would be a pretty cool switch up for the series. They also continue to say that the main character, Zelda's gonna, of course, I mean, not Zelda, but Link is gonna remain the main character, but also a standalone DLC, which will focus on Zelda, is under discussion at Nintendo. They said that Hyrule has greatly changed, with parts of the world being in the sky. God dang, talk about sky. Well, Skyrim is not at all associated with Nintendo, so pardon me, that was just a real terrible, corny joke. But anyway, parts of the world are going to be in the sky, and the climbing has been redesigned to focus on good timing and the balance of the characters players have taken control of. Now, Link will be able to summon beasts to fight alongside him, I guess similar to, what's that game on the Nintendo Switch that I actually want, but I haven't picked up yet, where you actually have beasts fighting, Astro Chain, I guess maybe something like that. But it will also feature 2 new cities, which will have a higher population as opposed to the original. And this is the kicker. The game is supposed to allegedly release in winter of 2020. I don't know how true any of these things are, but I will say some of this stuff sounds pretty doggone cool. I mean, being able to actually play as Zelda. Like I said, my first Legend of Zelda game, and man, I know I'm frauding out here big time in these gaming streets by saying this, but I'd rather be honest than to get caught up and somebody pull my daggone card. My first real introduction into the Legend of Zelda is once again Breath of the Wild. I know y'all probably saying, God dang, brother, you're 41 and you are just getting around to playing a Legend of Zelda game. Yeah, I am, man. I am. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Legend of Zelda has never been one of my stronghold games. RPGs pretty much have not been a huge stronghold for me. Only a few, like Final Fantasy VII, Mass Effect, and Witcher 3. I mean, my list is very short when it comes to RPGs, especially traditional turn-based ones. Oh, you can keep that, brother. But, yeah, this is my first one, and keep in mind, I have played Zelda, A Link to the Past. I played it for maybe an hour, didn't really get into it. I even played Link's Awakening. I mean, I'm familiar. I have picked up the sticks on the original Nintendo and played a few of them, but I have never got invested into the game like I have been with Zelda Breath of the Wild. And right now, I can't even say I'm like heavily invested. I mean, I got a few hours in, but man, this rock creature is tearing me a whole nother one right now. So I'm that far into that game, but that game is absolutely great. But we'll definitely have to see if these things actually come to fruition. Like I said, E3 season is coming soon. We all know Nintendo was going to have a Direct, and it's probably going to be blazed because, man, last year's Nintendo Direct, god dang, that was the best show of E3. I ain't going to lie. Nintendo won hands down last year at E3. I mean, in my opinion, I thought they had a way better show than Microsoft, and Sony wasn't there. Bethesda did what they could. I mean, shoot, Nintendo was shooting on all cylinders last year, so I look forward to seeing what they're going to show off this year. Now, the last story. Now, this is, man, I want to make this quick. Let me see if I can condense this because we almost at an hour right now. I guess, Atari. Yeah, darn, Atari, one of my first consoles that I ever had. Atari is working with GSD Group to build a series of video game themed hotels. Now, the first one will open in Phoenix, and the idea is to pack it full of entertainment that relates to Atari. Now, where it relates to Atari in one way or another. Now, it will also feature AR and VR installations. Now, here's the quote from GSD. They said Atari Hotels will be the first of their kind in the U.S. offering gamers of all ages the ultimate and immersive entertainment and in every aspect of gaming. End of quote. I gotta say, man, Atari, they really hold a really special place in my gaming heart, man. I mean, in my gaming life. You know, I definitely attribute a lot of things to Atari because without them, I would have never played Pitfall. I would have never played Adventure. Wouldn't have played Pole Position back in the day. Centipede, Galaga. Well, Centipede for sure. Asteroids. It was just so many games on the Atari 2600, 7800, 5200. And it was just so many great memories. So to hear that they're actually going to have a hotel that's going to be video game themed, the first console that came to my mind, like I'm thinking in my mind, like, dag, are they going to set it up where, you know, in your room, you're going to have access to a certain console and you can tell them at the front desk, hey, can I have this console be in the room or can I get in the room where that console is? The first thing I thought about, and it didn't do well at all, but it's just out of I don't know, just pure curiosity. I wonder, will they have an Atari Jaguar up in that mother lover, man? Could you imagine them having an actual Jaguar in one of the rooms and they have the Sega, not the Sega, but the CD attachment to the Jaguar as well? And that's something that you could play. I mean, it's just, man, the possibilities are limitless. I mean, it would be phenomenal. I mean, downstairs, maybe they have a gallery where they have all of this Atari memorabilia. Maybe they could sell some Atari stuff there. I mean, I'm really, really excited to see what these guys do with this. I think this is a great idea. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this before. Like they said, this may be the first time we'll ever witness anything like this. And I'm pretty excited about it. But anyway, guys, that is the end of the gaming news this week. Now, of course, since I'm running short on time, brothers, it ain't gonna be no video game theater, man. Nah, not this week, brother. But that is not gonna stop me from asking you guys a question. Now, the question that I have for you guys this week is, will Stadia be around next year? I tell you, man, their fan base, it looks like they're getting a little rowdy. They're getting a little tired. They're not feeling basically being beta testers. I mean, that's what it is right now. They're saying that they bought up a studio or two. They have some exclusives that are going to be on the platform soon. But they're moving at a very slow pace. And here you have Microsoft on the sideline where they're getting their streaming service up and running better and better maybe not every day, but every week. Things are getting better with that service. And eventually, of course, that's going to release their streaming service. It seems like they're going to try to connect that with Xbox Game Pass. And my goodness, now you have a heck of a problem on your hands, Stadia. And also, Stadia doesn't have all of the latest games right now. I mean, it's a lot of things working against them, them with the, people with bandwidth and with data caps. It's a lot of things that are happening. So anyway, not to drag this out any longer, that's the question this week. Will Stadia be around next year? I would love to hear from you guys. Like I said in the beginning of the show, you can reach the show if you want to call in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard. Or you can email the show, and the email address is the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. I was your humble host, Kiaun, and I must say, this has been a blast, brothers. It is 1 o'clock in the morning. Oh, my gosh, I'm going to be dead tired. Pray for me. Pray for me. I'm going to need it. But anyway, I am out of here, guys. But before we officially get out of here, always remember, it is not about the consoles. It is about the games. So with that being said, until next week, because we back, baby, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.